Well, hey, it's Jeremy J. I'm in a singing mood tonight. How are y'all doing? I hope you're doing fantastic and that life is giving you everything that you could ever want. And I was thinking about what to do for today's video. And the thing that came to my mind was examining destructive patterns. These are behaviors that are done oftentimes unconsciously or just as triggered reactions. When I say triggered, I mean some action takes place and it causes you to do something else. Someone says something to you, you become angry. That's a trigger. An event happens, your president wasn't chosen, you're frustrated, that's a trigger. That's not to say that triggers are bad. I'm not saying that at all. But sometimes they can become destructive. And in addition to that, there's also just destructive behaviors that often get revealed when you're in this little twin flame situation that many of you are familiar with. Even if you're not in the twin flame situation, there's people you may meet in your life, and those people just happen to say and do the right things that reveal your triggers, your reactions of frustration, anger, annoyance, all that stuff, sadness, whatever it may be. So I want to talk about a few of those destructive behaviors. So the very first one is when you don't get your way. When you don't get your way, how do you react? What are some things you may not get your way in? You may expect someone to do something for you. You might expect that your commute, your drive, has a certain amount of clear traffic. You might expect a happy birthday on your birthday from someone. You might expect flowers or a happy Valentine's Day or a thank you for some amazing thing you did. Expectations. Not having your expectations met. What is your pattern to that? Is it to get angry, frustrated, withdrawal, curse like a sailor? How did I come up with this? Because I have struggled with this in my life. And in particular, I can play back times when I was married many, many years ago, especially when I hadn't learned any of this stuff. Any negative event just made me withdraw like a turtle. I would become silent. I would just disappear. And looking back on it now, I'm like, oh, I was triggered. And I didn't do a very good job of communicating that. Thankfully now, I understand when I'm being triggered. And the second destructive behavior is flailing emotions. Now, I've done many videos about feeling and expressing your emotions, and that's super important. It is super important to feel, express, show your emotions, show what you're feeling. But there's this medieval weapon called a flail. It's like it has a handle, and then there's a chain with a spiked ball on it, and you wield it like that. So flailing about is like just wildly swinging this weapon. It's destructive. It doesn't do much good. I've seen this destructive pattern. This is one I don't have a lot of experience with because I have the exact opposite problem. Sometimes I don't show enough emotion. Sometimes I don't express enough. But certainly I've seen the ill effects of flailing your emotions and destructive. As a child, I experienced that, which is why I am more inclined to be the inverse of that, because I experienced firsthand what it's like to have someone flail their emotions at you and the negative effect that has. Instead of feeling the emotion taking it in and then having a conversation about it. Maybe you need to go to the gym and hit a punching bag, okay. But then sit down and have a conversation about it. It's better than just lurching your emotions at someone. So we've got two things so far. One, triggers, destructive behaviors, triggers, and just allowing situations and people to cause you to react a certain way. And then the second destructive behavior is just flailing your emotions or losing control of your emotions in situations. What is the third destructive behavior? Addictions. Addictions of any kind, whether it's drugs, even if you're addicted to aloe vera juice or something that, whatever it is, something that consumes you or you use as a cover-up. So for me, in the past, I would use food as an addiction to cover up stress, anxiety, anger, sadness, resentment, those kinds of things. So I would use food as an addiction to mask that. Instead of saying, I'm feeling this, I own it. I face that emotion, that frustration, anger, sadness. I face it. I face it head on. Okay. And yes, that's harder to do, but it's so worth it, because it's like going into an arena to battle a giant bear. You can avoid the bear, but you can't avoid it forever. Eventually the bear will get you. Instead, you face it head on. You defeat the bear. You face it head on. And now you own those emotions. You own your anger, frustration, sadness, because you faced it directly and allowed yourself to feel that. And they will flow through you and pass through you. You will conquer them eventually as you feel. So these three destructive behaviors: triggers, losing control of emotions, super, super big ones. And then the third one, it's just super, super important to recognize the destructive behaviors, these unconscious behaviors, the triggers, the loss of your emotions, the addictions. Just feel that within you, recognize it, know that it's okay. It's okay if these three things are happening. It's not bad. I'm still working on these three things. I am on the journey of life with you. But a lot of clarity and strength comes from the acknowledgement of these destructive patterns, because once you acknowledge them, you take time, you sit, and then you acknowledge them. Now the next time one of them happens, that time you spent in reflection and acknowledgement will be a trigger as well. And you'll say, oh, this is a destructive behavior that's going on here. And it may not mean you stop the behavior at that moment, but now you've created this additional thought pattern in your mind to start to counteract that. And every time you have a destructive behavior, the more and more time you take to reflect on your downtime when you feel okay, to think about when you're having these destructive behaviors, the more that will kick in when you feel like losing your emotions, or you feel like something's triggering you, or you feel like you need to turn to an addiction. You will start to override those destructive behaviors with something better. So what takes the place of these three destructive behaviors? What takes the place of the triggers? Well, I think whenever you're feeling triggered to be angry or frustrated, I think replacing that with gratitude and love. So whenever you feel like someone's doing something that is not to your liking, I care, I love, I'm grateful. Replace it with thoughts like that, and just watch and observe what happens with your interaction with that other person. When you feel like losing your emotions, when you feel like flailing about, what could you replace that with? Communication. Next time you feel like snapping back or getting angry, ask, what do you want? How can I help? Open up. Share vulnerably. I am this. I'm struggling with this. Be direct. And the third one, addictions. Addictions to food, drugs, porn, whatever it is. The addiction itself isn't the thing that is, the addiction isn't bad in and of itself. It is the time-consuming, masking nature of the addiction that is the problem. So what can you replace addictions with? Service. Service to someone else. A phone call, a text, an email. Anytime you feel like an addiction's coming, replace it with giving of yourself to others. This video is a chance for me to do that. The chance to serve and help. And I'm really grateful to be able to do that tonight. I am improving health-wise. I am improving. I still have little struggles that I'm working through, but overall my health is getting better each week to week, better. And through that week I'll have little battles, nerve pains, stomach bloating, a little bit of nausea, sleeplessness. But overall it's getting better over and over. It's continuing to get better. I'm feeling very grateful. I've been able to use the power of food, water, the sun, good healthy supplements, exercise, and getting my mind right in a good state to slowly heal. And that healing is continuing. It's still going on. I still feel body pains, and I went to the gym a few days ago and my body's sore. Like, oh, my chest is so sore from the heavy workout 2 days ago. My biceps and arms are sore. My abs and legs are sore. But I'm so grateful I was able to go out and do that. I'm very grateful for all of you that I can share with all of you. Take time to list or think about situations where these destructive behaviors are affecting you. And don't expect to just immediately change overnight. It's like this healing journey of mine. It might take all year. It might take a few years of dedicated work, but be like a samurai, a dedicated samurai who is disciplined and willing to put in the effort to improve and become better. Put in the effort. You got this, okay? Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video.